tried to tell this story before. There never seems to be a right time to bring it up in conversation, although the urge to share with those close to me always nags. The isolation and having experienced something that teenagers are not supposed to have experienced, do not experience typically, is all-consuming. Please, don't make me sit with this alone. It feels impossibly overwhelming to try and capture the entirety of something so complex, illogical, and gruesome. How do I explain it in a way that allows others to even remotely understand? Take it seriously. Believe me. I've been told I should try to write about it. Beautifully and powerfully. You're such a good writer, I say. Do something with it. Make a difference. In reality, that is an inconceivable task. There is nothing beautiful or aesthetic about it. There's just what happened. I'm a senior now, and it's just now that I'm beginning to fully understand how different my Duke experience has been than that of my peers. I know now that when asked to remember freshman year, you're supposed to think about things like monotonous movie conversations, and finding the group of people who feel like home, SLG rush, and your first time as a Cameron crazy, a face of fresh blue paint, sweat dripping down your back slowly at Saturday night shooters as every time you touch players at full volume. I know now that for most, this campus feels like a safe place. Instead, when asked about freshman year, I panic. Sheer, relentless panic. My vision blurs, and darkness constricts. His hands are on my neck, and breathing becomes the most grueling assignment. A flaming splotchy rash stretches across my cheeks, crawls down my neck, invades my chest. A sharp pain in my foot reminds me that it was never love. Every nerve in my body lights up. I'm on fire. My experience surviving domestic violence my first year at Duke was different than it was in high school. I was more isolated, both geographically and socially, over 1,000 miles away from the small town where we grew up. Our house was just 1 mile apart. After I left for Duke, he became more malicious, sophisticated, violent. I think about how, for my freshman years, a phone call from home in the midst of a stressful midterm season served to comfort and reassure them. Or how maybe sitting in the Smith Warehouse parking lot late at night provided a brief, private escape from the incessant Duke schedule. The Friday afternoons were a sigh of relief, and there was no reason to believe that staff weren't there to support you. A string of incoming text messages during a Neuro 101 lecture were harmless, surely related to that night's marketplace dinner plan or library grind session. For me, on a seemingly endless and disorienting C1 ride and frantic treks across campus, I shielded calls from strangers at a small college back home, whose trembling voices described how he drew them in. His charm infectious, and then sexually assaulted them, or one of their friends then. They begged me to leave, to get out. I told him I couldn't. My lecture was starting, I had papers to write and interviews to solve, and he was my only lifeline. When I hear the word Smith Warehouse, I feel the left side of my face pressed forcibly against the cool, damp glass of my driver's side window. I am dripping in sweat, struggling to get out of his hole, but I'm too tired. I'm being screamed at, degraded, emotionally volatile, toxic, worthless, disgraceful. On Friday afternoons, I drove to RDU with no music playing and tense white fists gripping the steering wheel. I was excited, scared, exhausted. I couldn't wait to hug him and kiss him and go out to a nice dinner and hear him say how much he loved me. Despite knowing what would happen later, when people tell me I'm a strong person, I remember the counselor at the Women's Center who told me that I didn't have what it takes to pursue legal action, advising me instead to just move on. And for me, the texturing neurals were from classmates, and they were far from lighthearted in nature. They were from Duke Reach administration, and they were threatening. It is important that we speak today. I reviewed your calendar and I propose 4:30. Please confirm. No response. I scribbled down illegible notes about the resting memory potential, fighting to keep pre-med 4.0. Minutes later, I received a report about your safety. The university may need to take action. I respond, assuring my safety and communicating how upsetting it is that my friends filed a report without my knowledge, before I was ready to share. I understand your boyfriend will be visiting you on campus this weekend. However, if I'm unable to speak with you today, he may be restricted. I have to see him. He has to come. She doesn't understand what will happen if I don't. I packed up my things, I run across campus, I entered the office, and I met with the question, so, were you or weren't you raped? You might be wondering, as many do, why? Why didn't you leave? I don't blame you. I'm an extremely rational person, and yet it makes no logical sense. To this day, it still makes me feel crazy that I stayed for 3 years. I hear terms like battered woman syndrome, complex PTSD, Stockholm syndrome, and he was brilliant. hide my worries saved me on multiple occasions. I smiled, and I apologized profusely, always. This became my default. And I fell into this trap. I don't know if I would have ever left if he hadn't abruptly cut off all communication last week of classes in the spring. A carefully curated strategy to make final exams impossible. He moved on to an underage high school student the next week. And I never heard from him again. Sometimes when in the middle of a time midterm or in a group of people or even all alone in my dorm room with no identifiable cause, I feel like I'm back. I wonder how much easier it would have been if people knew. If I didn't feel his grasp in the middle of a presentation or subconsciously scan every face on the VC Plaza or endure aggressive, unsolicited, drunken advances at parties or during private encounters in my dorm room. I love it here. Or at least I want to love it here. It is so lonely to be a senior and have missed out on these foundational Duke experiences. The social scene here is unforgiving, and showing who this feels out of reach. I don't want this to define me or other perception of me, but at the same time, I crave a basic level of human solidarity with my peers. It feels so unacceptable to share hard things here. Why are we in favor of constantly projecting a palpable, carefree front? It's suffocating. It isn't to say there haven't been kind people along the way who try their best to help. But I have encountered responses that so clearly highlight a selfish, performance-driven culture and apathetic university bureaucracy. Sometimes, I wonder if the same lack of basic human empathy would exist outside of an elite academic environment. And how things might have been different.